Here, without the introduction, this is Dr. John Bennett from Miami. We have the pleasure of having a few people with us tonight. We may have some panelists come and go. Uh, we have our main guest is John Springer. He's an OR tech from Los Angeles that has quite a bit of use, quite a bit of experience with the tech of Google Glass in the operating room. And John is going to talk about his experience. He's going to give a small presentation, and we're going to open it up to questions. And we have also joining us John Hewitt. He's a medical writer from Philadelphia. He does a lot of neuroscience stuff. And we have also Simon Downs. He's a psychologist from Japan. Of course, he's also interested in hearing about the Google Glass Tech. And we may be joined by Philip Chang, a burn surgeon from Mass General. And later on, Paul Sotek, who John knows from the conference in Indianapolis. So, welcome, John.
All right. Let me start my screen share here.
Okay. Okay, operating room dance. We can see it.
All right. Let's me.
Looks like an old operating room.
Okay. So you did put in there, my presentation will talk about teamwork inside the OR. So I thought this would be a nice one of the operating room dance. Wearable technology enhancing performance to promote teamwork in the operating room. So like as we all know, the operating room has been historically called the theater, where the physician or the surgeon doing the operation in the middle of the room are the performer. All that actually includes the assistant as well, the anesthesiologist and the nurses. Before, we have people surrounded the theater, the audience that composed of medical students, colleagues, fellow doctors, and sometimes just plain people or observers. Sorry about that. So although audience and number of people allowed inside the operating room has been minimized due to obviously infection control, the performer still remains, and performance has been more complex nowadays. So now we perform to a asleep audience, which is actually our patient, and the performance are judged by their family, the friends, and the public in general. Now the modern OR, it's there's obviously the added props or surgical equipment, complex routine, ad lib or unplanned steps, only to deliver the best performance. This could create difficulty and confusion among the performers. Communication failure, performer familiarity, and the unpredictability can prolong the length of an operation and lead to inefficiency and increased cost. This makes all the performer to feel intuitively that a well-orchestrated operation is the best for everyone involved, which is the patient, the surgeon, the anesthesiologist, the nurse, and me being the scrub technologist. So equating the operating room environment to a dance performance demonstrates a scenario where, yeah, you can choose the music and the tempo. Sometimes you can even choose your partner, the first assistant, the scrub technologist, but you start dancing anyway because there is an operation regardless of who they are. So if you have an unfamiliar partner, there would be more words and instruction needs to be spoken and given about the steps and how you go about the procedure, which this could make you go a little bit slower initially. Like what I said or mentioned from my previous talk, this was actually taken from the talk that Dr. Rivas one of the pioneer Google Glass Explorer from Stanford University during the Watch conference in Indiana last July, wherein he mentioned that he's pretty much dependent to the people that he work with. It's not about his speed. It's about the people that that he relies on during while performing the procedure. So I see that with the wearable technology such as Google Glass, now everyone can dance to the same tune and without missing steps. So as I said, this would be just a pretty short presentation. Hopefully I made a point. So teamwork obviously requires communication, and there's just not enough time in the OR to communicate all the things that you need to expect a good performance from your team. So with Google Glass or wearable technology, in this case Google Glass, everybody would have access to that information regardless of which part of the procedure where everybody's in. It could be in the beginning prior to even patient coming into the room, or it could be in the middle of a procedure wherein everybody's in the middle of something and busy of doing everything. So let me get out of here. So again, that would be just my short presentation. As I said, I hope I made that point clear to you guys. And if you have any questions, obviously, yeah, just go ahead and then ask.
Okay, John, thank you. One question I have right off the top is that the surgeon wears the glass, of course, but you will also wear it, right? The scrub tech wears the glass also, or everyone wears the glass?
That would be the idea. That would be a perfect scenario. Like everybody's wearing glass, and then it would be like an integrated team performance, I should say. Okay. And wherein everybody would be connected on that given moment, and then that's what the idea is. Like even if the nurse would step out of the room.
Okay, a little freezing there. Well, come on, unfreeze. Is he frozen for you guys too, or is it just me?
It's frozen for me too, John.
Yeah, okay. Well,
it's a very interesting presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the main speaker freeze last night too.
Yeah. I think, well, come on. Someone light a fire.
I'm learning some interesting new technology here, new names anyway. A hospital huddle for WOW recognition of the scrub technologist. That's a new one on me.
Yeah. He's the only guy I've heard of that's using, like, besides a non-surgeon using it. When I asked him who used it, I guess I kind of meant, does his assistant use it? As you guys probably know, when someone does surgery, it's not only the surgeon, it's his main assistant, which is usually like a resident or another doctor, a guy across the, he'll come back on. It's usually a guy across the table. The surgeon classically is always at the right of the patient, and usually right across from him is the resident, which is of course his main assistant. And then if there's a medical student, he'll be to the right, and maybe another medical student will be here. The anesthesiologist, of course, is at the top of the table, and then there's the scrub nurse, which is typically at the bottom of the table, with the instruments.
So what is it, if more than one person has glass during a procedure? What is the protocol that they share stuff and communicate with each other? Is it like a hangout, or what is emerging as a platform to do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. That's one thing I want to ask John when he'll come back. When he comes back, is that they because one of the things I read about when I was looking into John's background was that he said it had advantages when his back was to the operating room table, so that he could see. So I think there's going to be visual communication of him seeing the field that the surgeon sees, so he can
Right.
kind of rather than like having to look at the surgeon, he can turn his back and see where in the operation the surgeon is at. But I don't know if you guys you've been in surgery before, right, John and Simon?
John, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent maybe 6 months doing surgical monitoring. Yeah, just as a electrophysiological monitoring person. But yeah, I've seen a few things.
Oh, okay. Are you there, John?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry about that. My my
No
laptop
problem.
touches quick on me.
Yeah, no problem. John had a question for you. Go ahead,
Yes.
John. Go ahead, John.
I'm just wondering if during a procedure there's more than one person. What is the protocol that you use to establish order? I mean, who's the head glass, and is it like a Google Hangout platform, or do you have other ways to structure the communication?
Well, right now we don't really have a that's we're still in the process of developing that technology actually. Right now, for just non-disclosure's sake, we're not. I'm not gonna. It's still, as I said, it's still in the process of. We're still in the process of developing it, but yeah, we're
Right.
really looking at maybe getting the organization of the connecting glass between team should start with the doctors. He would probably be the first one to kind of orchestrate the whole communication between the team. We're looking
Yeah.
at it would be more like not a hangout, but it would be more like I should say a more secure service. We have what we call a in-house server in our hospital, where everything digital, communication, video, text or whatever is stored in our in-house or like hospital server. So the idea is like developing something that would be internal. It's not something that going to be more, as like what we do here, the Hangout. It's more a public domain.
Right.
Obviously, to avoid complication with privacy issues and the HEPA.
Mhm.
So we're looking on those kind of technology. We already have one in place. So it's just a matter of like using that same technology in the glass to glass communication.
Yeah. It just
So
sounds to me like you almost need an app that is prepared specifically for that particular patient that you all download. It has his records, it has all the information you need. I mean, I know we don't have this yet, but it sounds like that's what's
Right.
coming.
Right. So
okay.
we're looking more like an integrated OR. So it would be from. It's gonna be a big project. As I said, I'm gonna have a meeting tomorrow with my boss, and it's been a struggle for me really to kind of just introduce the idea, because we all know that glass is really a new device. It's not really accepted yet, I should say. But tomorrow they just mentioned that okay, we might give it a try, and let's just hear what you can what you have. So yeah, it would be more an integrated OR, application I should say, that involves actually from the beginning, from scheduling the case. Like for example, a patient X is coming in for a procedure a month from now, so he would or she would be entered in a system, and then all of this necessary arrangement from booking a room, booking all the needed equipment, having all the available instruments ready for that day, all the needed images, X-ray, or and then even the lab works will be put in there, and then it's just a matter of like maybe activating a data or like a database through scanning a barcode from a patient, about all the information that was set up from the a month or a year before, during the process of scheduling a case for that particular patient. Yeah, so it would be an application, obviously, but again, it would be more an internal application. Like we're trying to like put as much safeguard into it. Like you can only access or even download the application, if you scan your badge first, so people would know who are those people that are using the application. So it won't be just like anybody, and even downloading it, putting it in your device requires some sort of a security feature before you can even use it.
Yes, John. So it's kind of like an intranet. It's not
Right.
internet. It's intra. It's a
Yes.
closed. It's a closed system.
Right. Right. Basically, that's the idea.
Okay. And essentially a video camera setup with a little bit of data.
Hmm.
Now, what, like I mentioned to you when you're off camera, that the part of the advantage, I think you said in one of your presentations, was that
Just lost you
field.
there, John.
Yeah. Yeah, we just lost you there. What was that? Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, you can still see the surgical. Your back can be to the surgeon, right? And you can still see the surgical field, and that's considered an advantage.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again, yeah. So again, the idea is like more an integrated OR, wherein all these images from an X-ray film or a video captured by a microscope camera or even an endoscope instrument is going to be all stored in a database, intranet, as what you John just mentioned, internal in our own internal web server in the hospital, and then having everything online, then you can just go ahead and pull that information right away through Google Glass.
John, do you have a surgeon that's kind of helping you along and helping you get established and helping you get it used in the OR? Is there a champion, a mentor that's helping you, a surgical mentor?
Um,
Or this is all on your own?
right now, it's just on my own. There is another doctor, but he's more focused on like what do you call this, for training purposes, like because we are a teaching institution. We are actually a under the University of California, which has a medical center. So all our medical students are coming through us, and we are a teaching institution. So they're focused on teaching or training. So they have their own project. I did express intention of like getting involved just in case if there's something I can contribute, because we do us being a surgical tech, we are part of the training these new surgeons that comes through us. Every 6 months we have different residents that would come and go. So I talked to this doctor and I said it would be nice actually if I can volunteer myself, and maybe I can give some sort of suggestion just to kind of get a better understanding on how to deliver this training concept through glass, not just for the OR staff or the regular hospital staff, but also to these medical students, to the residents, to the fellows that come to our facility to get the trainings.
Well, certainly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but we're totally different. So my focus is just basically operations in the OR, and their focus is academic. And that's a good thing. I mean, maybe somewhere in the future we can cross our path and get again, the idea is really an integrated OR. So if you're talking about integration, it could come from different avenues, from training to operation to anything.
Well, certainly it would be advantageous to stay close to the surgical community, right? Like with people like Paul, Sotek, and etc.
Right.
Yeah, Paul was going to be here tonight, but he had an emergency, as he always does. But
Okay.
yeah, I know that he spends a lot of time, and he probably would welcome having a surgical tech using Google Glass as well, because I think he used it a lot, and that's the impression I get from in Indianapolis. I didn't see you there, but I missed one day. But that's one thing that I was impressed with, was all the surgical areas that's being used at, and I think all those surgeons. I don't know if you had a chance to meet many, but I'm sure they all would welcome to have a surgical tech using it.
Right.
But they encountered the same resistance that you did, which I'm sure it was very hard at first to have it approved to be used.
Right.
But they all encountered the same resistance.
Right.
And eventually, of course, Google was doing Hangouts from it, and they stopped that. So there's no question now that you don't have to worry about HIPAA because it's not on the internet. It can't be on the internet. So, but there are. I know that, and you probably know too from following Paul. They're working. There's a lot of work on HIPAA compliant. I think. Did you get to meet Kalasamani at Indianapolis?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I initially approached him to kind of help me develop the ideas that I had, but their focus on, again, I think it's more like patient doctor to patient application. What I have was more like an actual application, or like I would say that it's something that's really putting wearable technology in meaningful use. So the focus is, saving money for the hospital, like having all this, having available technology, for the scrub tech or the RNs to use to have, to become more efficient on what they do. So my focus is meaningful use in the real, scenario, like real surgery scenario, like getting a room ready, pulling all this equipment. And again, that's what I've been trying to tell my hospital. With this kind of technology, you're looking at the more, cost saving application. And it's not just that. I mean, it promotes patient safety, obviously, because now you're going to have more competent or knowledgeable people. Kyle, the Pristine, I think they're more focused on the patient and doctors, like during making doctor visit, doing a so those are the things that they're focused on. So when I approached him, he kind of turned me down. So I said, it's okay, maybe they're as I said, focus on that one. Then
they're doing something different.
Can I jump in for a second, John?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
This is Don Schwartz from New Hampshire, the social media man.
How you doing? I just wanted to mention a couple of things that might help you out. Up here, I've been with the guys from Beth Israel a few times, and also Brigham and Women's. And Beth Israel is working with Wearable Technologies out of Silicon Valley somewhere, who's built them basically they stripped the software out of Glass to get rid of HIPAA. The problem with Glass is everything you do. If you do voice recognition, it goes to the Google server, it's translated, it comes back to you. And that can't be, that's not HIPAA compliant at all.
Right.
So what they've done is they're using their own software running strictly on the Beth Israel network. It won't connect to any other network. And it does some of the things that you mentioned, like knowing who the patient is. They've started out by scanning QR code on the wristband, but they're moving to Bluetooth LE in the wristband. So, and they're using it in the emergency room at Beth Israel. Everybody in the emergency room is using it, and as they walk up to a patient, it knows who that patient is.
Right.
And it can see all their record right up there. Okay. They're using Nuance instead of the Google translation. Now, Nuance isn't really any better probably, but Nuance does at least know the medical terms that Google Translate doesn't probably, or Google voice recognition, I guess. But you might want to try to contact those guys. The company's Wearable Technologies. And I might be able to get to the contact information because they may be looking for other people to use it, and it's not the same. It's not the same application, but you could use pieces of what they're doing.
Right.
Why reinvent the wheel, basically?
Well,
Yes.
that sounds good.
Yeah. Well, as I said, again, it's easier once you have the money in your pocket to just jump in and contact these people. So my move actually is I try to like get at least a user first. Like if I can get this hospital to try it, now at least I have a product user. And then if they agree, okay, let's give it a try, then that would be the start of the process of looking for developer. Again, I'm not in a state where I can just pull out $13,000 just to like pay a developer. Okay, develop it for me and I'll sell it. I have
Yeah,
to
but
have.
they may be willing to work with you.
Okay.
You never
Yeah.
know
Well,
until
that
you
would
ask.
be that would be a good
Don,
Because-
can you mention names or not? No, you can't. Dr. Halambra, right? It's written in the press.
In Boston?
Yeah, it's written and I read about Beth Israel in the emergency room and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's common knowledge.
Yes, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Stephen Horn.
I think his name is John Halamba or something like that.
Yes, and Stephen Horn is the actual physician that the emergency room physician that is actively working with it.
Right. Okay. I've seen his picture. Yeah.
And over at Brigham, Karen Deep Singh, who did a demo for us at Pri-Med East, we had a seminar there a couple of weeks ago. Karen Deep showed a system that he's working on that's in beta that is completely connecting to their EHR basically, and kind of a nice system too, and more or less the same thing. And the problem everybody's run up against, I know, the first surgeon to use glass was Dr. Raphael Grossman up in Maine, and he was allowed to wear it for one surgery, and then the lawyers came in and shut him down and said, no, you can't, not on our network, period, no more. And that's what you're going to run up against, because you are basically connecting to Google's public services no matter what you're doing at all times with Google Glass. There's no avoiding it. It's what it does.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see, and I keep telling this to people, that I have a gut feeling, and I don't know anybody, I've never heard this from Google, but I bet you we see Glass go to a Philips or somebody for development in healthcare.
Yeah.
Well, you could give them contact information for those guys. A good thing for you to do, John, is have a hangout with those people from Boston, from Beth Israel. Just have a conference with them and kind of exchange information. I know that you don't have anybody else's work to build on because you're the first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have a precedent. You're doing things new, and you can't build on other people's work, or you can't tell your hospital, well, look at they're doing it, because you're the first.
Right. Well, I did have a couple of people or a couple of companies during the Watch conference that approached me at the end, and I did send them some emails. There's just no follow-up yet. So I'm keeping some eye on a couple of developers as of now. The thing about what I'm developing actually is that there's not so much concern about HEPA because, as I said, although there's a tendency that you might accidentally press the take the picture button on your Google Glass and then you might accidentally take a picture. But mainly the application is used for it doesn't involve patient care. I always, that's my emphasis on all the presentation that I made, even to we have an A team in our hospital, which consists, which composed of our CEO, the IT, managers and stuff like that, or the different department managers. And I told them, I am seeing not a whole lot of problem with HEPA on what is it that I'm trying to do, because there's no direct patient care. We're not going to be using this on, like face-to-face with a patient. Like, just to give you an overview, for a scrub tech to be using this technology, it's basically telling him, the surgeon's preference, like what kind of a needle does the surgeon needs during the procedure, what kind of an instrument, what kind of an equipment, or if it's like an equipment that I haven't seen before, maybe having an access to like how to operate it, or how to, if it's malfunctioning, how to troubleshoot it. So it's more like a, how do you want to explain it? It's more like a practical application. So it's not like to take notes, of what is it that you have discussed with the patient, or like having a face-to-face conversation with your patient, or like what a lot of doctors are developing, or a lot of startup companies right now in using wearable in healthcare are developing, like they want to record a consultation wherein the doctor can review it in the later time, or even like directly integrated to EHR or EMR by going through from the text to was it the speech to text conversion?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dragon.
Yes. So yeah, those are the things that a lot of people are looking that could potentially compromise. But as I said, that's my selling point. Like, this is not this won't be used for direct patient care. It's more like used for the actual hands-on, or whatever you call it, operation scenario.
Well, how do the other OR techs take to it? You mentioned before the broadcast about having a conference with the other OR techs.
Yeah,
and they're interested in this kind of thing.
Well, unfortunately, the device costs a lot, and when it comes to like, buying something that really is gonna, cost some money.
Right, $1,500, right?
Right. It's not just like something that you can buy for $20. Now everybody want to be jumping into it.
Right.
The only reason that I actually got involved with Google Glass is that I did have another which started everything. This is actually the initial submission I given to Google, hoping to get the invite to buy Glass, which is again, the idea, the whole idea, or the whole concept that I have is all about streamlining operation and process inside the operating room. So when I submitted that was before, like, I don't know, like 2 years ago, and I was more focused on the smartphone, or your iPhone, or your Android phone. I'm using barcode that you can scan a preference card, or even a patient's badge. I mean, like, wristband, and it would give you everything. Like, okay, this is the patient. His name is so and so. He's gonna go under the procedure, this and that, and this is the instrument that you're gonna be using. This is the supply that you're gonna be using, even to specific information, like, this is the surgeon's glove size. The idea really is to, like, once the surgeon walks in, being a surgical technologist, you're ready to go from the beginning even to the end, to make the whole process as smooth as possible. Another thing was that during like, you can even communicate to the doctor, or even setting up an equipment, because we're so specialized. We have certain people that only deals with, for example, we have that AB tech, the audiovisual tech. They're the one who touch the microscope. Now, not all the time they're available, especially on the weekend, wherein you will be on call and you get called in for a craniectomy case. Now, you don't have somebody to set up the microscope for you, so all you can do is just scan that barcode, and it would walk you through how the process of setting it up. Even troubleshooting it, or if you happen to have an issue after or during the case, then you can just go ahead and forward a request for repair, or even like to our Biomed department, or even straight to the company, the manufacturer.
Well,
so, yeah.
So it's more than just at the table doing other things around the operating theater.
It's more than just a table. As I said, it's more that this is more like an integrated process. So I would say there's steps in the operation. There's the pre-ops, wherein patient is been prepped for procedure. There's the intra-op, and then post-op. All of these things would be the concept would be applicable to those 3 stages in doing a
the procedure.
Now, are you concerned with when during an operation, sometimes the surgeon will take a slide or a biopsy and they send it out to the lab? Is that part of what you're talking about too, where they read the slide and they send the interpretation
Right,
to the?
yes.
Okay, that's part of it. That's part of it.
That's part of it. Pathology. Right now our process is that surgeon takes up a biopsy, pulls the pathology. Pathology works from across the other side of the OR, comes
Right.
in, get the specimen, goes back to the pathology room, examine it, come back, give a verbal report. I mean, how many minutes are we wasting there?
Right. Oh, okay.
So,
Right. Right.
so that's again part of the whole project. Like
So that's
it's gonna be, yes.
so you're concerned with that part. That's part of the integrative approach.
That yes.
Of getting biopsies read. They call them frozen sections, right?
Frozen section. That's correct. Yeah.
That's a quick one. Or any
Yes.
other? Do you see any other procedures that you're looking to streamline with the use of glass, specifically besides pathology?
So far that's well, I
That's
guess
the main. That's the main one.
that's the main one for now.
How about reading of scans and X-rays and that kind of thing by the radiologist? Because I mean, obviously the radiologist is not in the operating room.
Right.
Do they sometimes have images that they want to have sent to be read, and they can send the interpretation back by glass?
That would be yes. I that would be more like for the doctor part. They're more familiar on that process. What
The
I'm talking
resolution's
about
really not good enough on glass.
right.
So it's not just the interpretation, not the scan itself. Hey,
Not the scan itself.
you know what, John? We have a gentleman from Japan here. Hey, Simon,
Mm-hmm.
are you still there? Simon,
Yeah.
do they have
Yes.
they have glass in Japan, or is it illegal?
I was just checking it. I work with an interventional radiologist. I'm just a medical student, but one of my
Well, you know,
academic advisors
there are
is a
some
radiologist.
countries. There are some countries it's actually illegal to have glass. I think Australia
Is that
was
right?
one. Yeah, I think
Well, I think
Australia.
I'd like to check it out.
Wow.
And Japan has different rules. I'm also interested in it from as a medical device standpoint. You can't consider it a medical device because it is, but it is used in the medical field. How is it seen? I mean, when you're using it in an OR, can you call it a device?
Does it make a difference? I don't know. Does it make a difference? I don't know. Does it?
I've always thought about I made actually a thread on Google Google Plus that I said hopefully Google can come up with a Google Glass medical version.
Yeah.
We strip all those as what Don was saying, that the software that's running right now, every time you use glass, it would right away send it to the Google server. So maybe
Make it very private.
make it more private with the Google a medical grade version of it. Make it
Probably very easy very easy to register.
Right, and then not just that, not even just the software, even the hardware itself, make it more, usable in a healthcare environment, like especially in the OR. Make it something that you can, because I don't know what's the whole hardware of it. Like, can you wipe it down with like harsh chemical? Would that ruin the device and stuff like that? So make it more like fitting for the environment itself. One other thing that doctors were like complaining, the placement of the camera, it's not like in the eye level. When they're actually utilizing it to like record a video, they literally has to like bend their neck just to get the like eye point of view. So maybe make it a camera that can like pan down and up, or tilt down and up, or pan down right and left. I think that's what's been done. It's already there, but tilting it up and down. Also, being able to attach some accessory to it, like a light, a headlight, or even for those people that doesn't wear yeah, battery pack, extended battery pack, obviously. So yeah, hopefully that would be in the making soon. Who knows who's gonna, Google might give up on it and just give it to a company like just what Don was mentioned earlier. Who knows, Philips might jump into it and develop it, on behalf of Google to make it more, useful in the healthcare department.
Yeah, my impression is every field of medicine is going to use it in a different way. Even subspecialties in surgery, like we're going to have an ENT guy next week talking about Google Glass, but an ENT has different needs and wants for his glass, and it'll adapt to what he needs it for. Just as a trauma surgeon will have a different set of glass. This is, like you said, it's just a start. This is just a start, and things will get different. There's a guy, a doctor actually down in Houston, Albert Huang. He's doing a fellowship. He's in medical devices, and he also has a degree in industrial engineering. So he's working on designing glass, changing the actual design, physical, like you mentioned, a few physical things that might be needed. So it's just
there's other competitors out there also, like Epson. Sony's about to introduce something very shortly. At our event, I sent something in chat. We're having a design sprint. It's called a Kaiser Permanente on the 17th for healthcare and wearables, and we're going to have Oculus Rift there, and a few other devices, possibly the Epson device, which looks really nice.
That's a
which has
Japanese.
the other advantage of being complete eye coverage, so it's safety goggles also.
That's a printing company, Epson.
Yeah. Yes, well, that's what they were once upon a time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big company.
Yes.
Well, the Oculus is the whole face too, right?
Yeah. Oculus is the virtual reality.
Virtual reality, yes.
Okay, so and people are looking at that more for training purposes. Basically, think of surgical training and things like that. For the event, an entire team from Kaiser is going to be in from the West Coast. That's their innovation team that is bringing those. And I know Georgetown School of Medicine is letting us use 16 pairs of glass for all the teams to be able to work on glass. But, glass is sort of like the intro. It's sort of like the iPhone of 2008, I think, and the whole world is going to change very fast in the near future, and it may be Google that does it or other people. But I think, to me, it's opened up the whole healthcare field to this possibility of wearable tech and being able to do so much hands-free.
It seems like this idea of the intranet being isolated from the larger world is a myth. I mean, John, you're talking about trying to do a craniotomy and looking up a manual for a microscope. Where does that reside? Is it in the cloud? Is it on the hospital's local servers? Or, you can't just isolate things entirely now, it seems.
Right.
Well, do you think eventually, once it gets HIPAA compliant, eventually it'll be open to the internet and that you can pretty well go where you want to go? You think that'll ever happen with the Google Glass?
I think it has to. I also think all these conferences I keep going to, everybody talks about HIPAA has to change, and that HIPAA has to come into the 21st century, basically.
Into the digital age, yeah.
Into the digital age, and maybe it will.
If you're put in, say, a deep brain stimulator in somebody, say in the hypothalamus, and all of a sudden they start having hiccups every time you turn it on, you go to Medtronic and try to look up that information. There's nothing there. That's anecdotes. You got to search individual cases and private information. Did this person start having the thing? To me, it's work as if we have general openness rather than this compliance nonsense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, things will evolve. Things will change. And eventually things will have to become legal before it gets widespread acceptance. But
we are so in the early days of this. This is
Apple
2 days.
Well, John, you're a pioneer actually.
Right.
You're blazing the path, John, for other OR techs. The text in a year or two will have it a lot easier because of the work you're doing now.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
We got two
Doing this
Johns
like.
now.
I know. Hold on.
I know. Hold on. Let me.
Somebody's breaking.
Yeah. Okay. Having two screens, John. You have two screens.
My wife.
You have two screens on there. Okay.
I remember in the late '90s when my wife came home from work. She was a nurse anesthetist, talking about one of the doctors bringing a Palm Pilot into the OR, and everybody thought this was crazy. Why are they doing that?
They're bringing in what, Tom? What?
Palm Pilot.
The Palm Pilot.
Yeah, back in the day, back in those days, the old days.
Right. That doctor was ahead of his time.
Yeah, those are ancient days.
I think we're all breaking up, it sounds like.
Well, okay, gentlemen, I think it's about time. John, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight, and I'm actually saying that twice. And thank all your panelists, Simon, John Hewitt, and Don.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Things will get better, and we'll stay tuned for the changes in the law and the clinical uses of the Google Glass. So, okay, gentlemen, thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you, John. Good night, all.
Okay, good night.
Thanks.
See you guys. Hey, John.
Yeah.